and I really enjoy of what you've been doing, and your story, I believe, is going to be very interesting, and there's a lot of things that we can take and learn, unlearn, and learn again from you, and from your wisdom. So that's why I say, Bonnie, can you please come into the show and share your stories? So thank you very much.
I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful, thank you. And Moni, I think is that I can do the introduction about you, but I always enjoy that you will be the one who doing the introduction and tell our audience who you are and what you've been doing. Can you do that for me and the audience here, please?
Certainly. So I am an executive coach. I'm an author, international speaker, and Forbes columnist. I have had a 25 plus year career in corporate America, where I actually started at the bottom, entry level, and made my way up to be CEO of a national company. And I've published 2 books. One is The Politics of Promotion, How High Achieving Women Get Ahead and Stay Ahead. And my most recent book is Not Done Yet, How Women Over 50 Regain Their Confidence and Claim Workplace Power. So I've done a lot of research, both on women and ambition, as well as gendered ageism. The focus of my work since I started my coaching practice in 2007 has really been to help professional women to position themselves and advocate for themselves for their ongoing career success. Because I found that a lot of women, you know, when I was in the corporate arena, a lot of really great women were being passed over because they were invisible. And they didn't really know how to create that visibility for themselves. You know, I think that women especially enter the workplace and we're like, okay, if we work really hard, keep our head down, get great results, that means that we're going to be able to advance our careers. And of course, that's only one part of the equation, right?
Hey, Bonnie, thank you so much for sharing you know who you are, and then, but we would want to bring you all the way back first to when you first started, okay, and then we will eventually get back to what you're doing now. And you said that you started your career at the bottom ladder of of the corporate, and then you grew up on to the top, the CEO role. But we want to learn, from you that. What did you study at the university, and then when you come to the corporate life, how is that related though?
It didn't at all. So I was actually an early childhood teacher. I was teaching kindergarten here. I have a master's degree in early childhood education. And I was teaching, and I actually had 2 children when I got a divorce, and the teaching wasn't going to pay the bills. So I answered an ad in the paper for a 9-to-5 job. And at first I was turned down, but then a company hired me, and they really taught me the business. I mean, in a year and a half, I went from managing one particular site to 11. So that was my entry into business, and I learned it on the job. I didn't go to business school. I didn't have any kind of formal education that way. I learned it on the job.
So that is the home health company that you worked for at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And we had the same background. I used to be the operation head for Just a Few Services. So we are one of the top 2 companies in Seattle running the home health, home care services. And I didn't have any experience at all too. I just have the the curiosity of learning and the willingness of doing anything back then to make the business better. But then from a teacher, right, moving to the corporate world, and then that's totally two different kind of the world. How did you, how did you pass the uncertainty, the unknown zone back then, to to start and relearn, unlearn, and relearn everything in that arena?
Well, I think I was somewhat of a sponge. I've always been really curious and open to learning new things. For me, managing, my first job was managing a large physician practice, um, a joint venture. And the management company really taught me how to do that. I mean, my skills were not in numbers, bookkeeping, anything like that, financial management. But I learned it. I definitely learned it over time. I think the key has always been, making really good connections with people. And somehow the emotional, the social intelligence really helps when you're in leadership positions or you're working towards leadership positions. It's the relationships that really help you move forward. And if I look back on my career outside of that first job, every other position, promotion I received was through a referral. It was through my network. It was through relationships.
But what is your secret sauce to build a relationship up, though? I saw a lot of people have good intention, really have a burning desire to build a good relationship with somebody, but then it didn't work. And then someone else that I know can create a very, very healthy relationship that lasting for 20, 30 years. So how did Bonnie build your relationship with others?
Well, I think the first thing is it's not all about you, right? What you're trying to do is establish and nurture mutually beneficial relationships. And I think that when you enter into a relationship with that intention, it kind of shifts it, and that people realize, oh, it's not all about you. She has something to offer. She respects what I bring to the table. And so, we learn from each other, we advocate for each other, we champion for each other.
Wow. It's not always about us, right? It's always about the other person on the other side of the table. And that's how the mindset we shift to build a good relation. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Bonnie. Bonnie, you've been in the corporate world from the scratch all the way to the top. And then since when you have the aha moment that say, hey, you would want to get out of that comfort area and start on your own?
I think there were a number of personal experiences that led to that. I ended up living on an island. I was managing a large national team from the island of Martha's Vineyard off Massachusetts. And it was difficult logistically. And I think that kind of gave me the opportunity to say, is this what I want to keep doing? It's very difficult to do this job from where I'm living, and maybe it would be great to be able to work from home, to be my own boss for a while and start my own business. So I went back to school and I took a 9-month course to get certified as an executive coach. And as I was in that training program, I started to take on clients. And by the time I was finished with the training, I had a few clients and I was able to start my own practice.
So that is in 2007.
Yes.
So 15 years already. that you've been in on your own, right? But I want to bring you back into that 2006, 2007, when you had the moment of, I know that it's not easy because when you work in the corporate world, everything is stable. You got, at least the financial aspect of that is secure, right? And then you would want to get out of that and start on your own. So things are uncertain. A lot of things are uncertain during that in ahead of time. So who did you come and ask for counsels or consultings or mentoring you through that process, though? Who are those people?
I mean, there were definitely, first of all, I went through a really excellent certification course where I did have coaching support from other coaches. And I don't hesitate to reach out for coaching when I need it, when I find that I either need to make a big decision and I'm not sure about it, or um, mostly business related issues. And so, when I look back on it, I'm like, wow, you just took a leap. And sometimes that's really what we need to do, right? If we have the confidence in our ability and the value that we have to offer potential clients, and we feel that we know how to get the word out, how to advocate for ourselves, then at some point you have to take the leap if that's what you want to do. And yeah, it could be scary. And could I have made that transition easier on myself? Could I have done it better? Yeah, I mean, hindsight is always 2020, right?
Yeah.
But you always come to the point with any big decision where you just need to move forward. You need to take that leap and trust that things will fall into place, or you'll make them fall into place.
Wow. But if 15 years now, 15 years already have, and after, if you can remake that decision, would you redo that again and starting your own business earlier, or?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Absolutely. Bonnie, but then from that moment and what there's a lot of other activities, other subject that can be at interest of you, but then you chose to be specialized onto uh, ageisms and work and things like that. So what was the reason for that?
Well, I think that as I was coaching women over time and realizing, my original mission was to help women who were invisible, who couldn't build visibility for themselves, didn't know how to advocate for themselves. And then I started to coach some women who were in their late 50s who were very successful, but were finding themselves sidelined and invisible and marginalized. And it became a new passion of mine that, yeah, it's not only women, but it's women as they approach 50 and beyond who still have so much to offer, yet the workplace doesn't value their contributions. There's something about the injustice of it all that really fuels me. And so I write about it and I speak about it, and I'm on social media about it, and I'm interviewed about it. And I think it's something that we really need to be aware of in our culture. Now, your culture is most likely different, the way you view older women. And I think your culture shows older women much more respect. They're a bigger part of the family. They're certainly revered as not being over the hill at a certain point, but having the wisdom of experience. In the United States, and of course in a lot of other cultures, it's very different.
Mm. Wow. So I think that let's put the gender aside for a part for a little time for now. But I think also the men in organizations that are not visible, and so in general, how can we help them to be more visual, more visible? How can we make them on the continual side of contributions and add values to the organization, to the lives, and then to the society? Can you share with us some tips and techniques that we can help?
Sure. One of the things that I work with on a lot of my clients is to understand what your value proposition is. So your value proposition is the way that your work contributes to positive business outcomes. And when you understand that, it allows you, it gives you the opportunity to position yourself as somebody who is going to help the organization reach its objectives based on your work and how you do the work. And I find that, especially with women, because that's mostly who I work with, it gives women the confidence to know that when they're talking about their value proposition, it doesn't come across as bragging. It's not the personal, like, I'm so smart, you need to put me on this assignment. It's that, well, I've been able to achieve X, Y, Z, and I believe this will help your project, So for both men and women, I think the most powerful way to advocate for yourself is to understand the value that you bring to an organization. And then when you are connecting with others in the organization and you are asking them what their challenges are, you might be able to then connect the dots and say, oh, I understand that's your challenge. Perhaps I can help because I do X, Y, Z. So you're building your visibility and credibility across the organization, through your network, through your relationships as well.
Wonderful. So constantly look out for what the organizations look in need of services, and then try to offer, what is that value that you can bring onto the table. So that is the way to make yourself visible, right? April is the month that we dedicated a lot of activities about topic of influencing, okay, and how we can make our influence onto the people around us. So the piece that you were saying, that seeking for organization needs and start to inject your influencing, how can we help the people around us, in your opinion, start to build that influencing level up so that they can confidently come to the decision maker within the organization and tell them that I can add values here?
Well, I think, first of all, it's a two-step process.
Yes.
First, we need to look internally and do some work, some self-reflection on what that value proposition is. It's not our job description, right? It's how we accomplish the results that we get. What is, as you said, our secret sauce, And then step two is to be able to articulate it and connect with people to let them know what that is and how that will benefit them and the organization. So basically it's a two-step process. Now, how do you build influence? This is especially, I think this was a full chapter in my first book.
Oh,
yeah. So
yes.
it's on how to build a network, right? You need to look around and see who has power and influence in your organization, who has power and influence over your career, right? who are the decision makers and who are the influencers? Even the decision makers have a web of influence. So you need to make connections with all of those people and make it your intention to be visible and to build relationships with them. And I do call it a web of influence. That's your network. It's a network that's built with intention and it's very strategic. It's not like a casual kind of collecting, people on social media or business cards at events. It's really focusing on who are the people that do have influence, how can they become part of your circle of influence, and being intentional about it.
So it's a strategy that we chose, and in building up our network and building up the relation, like you mentioned earlier about building relationship, right? And that's how we can start to build our influence and increase the ability in influencing the people around us, right?
We build influence through others, right?
Yeah. Bonnie, so how all of your work been articulated onto the thing that you wrote now? You've been writing the first book, now you have your second book released or a launch already. We would love to hear that journey. How did you start all of that?
Well, let's see. I think it was in 2011. Forbes reached out to me, and I had started a blog on my website, and they said that they're starting an initiative for women, and would I write a column for them? And so I started to write pretty consistently for Forbes, and people would say to me, "You should write a book." You know, take all those ideas and put it, from your blogs, from your articles, and put it in a book. And of course, it's not that easy, really. You can't take the copy and paste and stick it in a book. But when I wrote that first book, it was really prompted by my personal experience in the corporate arena as a woman who had ambition, was trying to get ahead, who was blindsided by office politics, who was so focused on my work and getting great results that I wasn't paying attention to everything that was going on around me, and I was blindsided by it. So that first book provides a toolkit for how women and men can navigate the complexities of the workplace, to get ahead, to realize your potential and ambition. So, after a book is published, you do a lot of speaking.
When it is published? What year was
It
that?
was published in 2015.
2015. Okay. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic.
Yes.
And so after a while, through my coaching experiences, basically, the other idea of really narrowing this down to helping women as they age in the workplace, to help them position themselves and navigate the complexities of the workplace, because now things are shifting. They're noticing certain things are changing. Their workload may be redistributed. They're not invited to key meetings, and so I wanted to give them the tools to be able to keep their jobs and stay marketable. And so the books, though they seem to be totally unrelated, they're really not. There's a common theme there.
Totally. I have a lot of audience in my networks. At the age of 45 and above, who are also gonna face the challenge that you are saying, when they get into a certain age and it's it becoming harder for them to compete in the corporate arena, and or with just the perception that they might be thinking that way. I don't want to put myself into that thinking, but in the book you wrote about that, you've been research about that before you writing that, right? Can you share some tips that can help those in need so that they can find the strength to continue having that confidence to add values to their lives? Can you share with us?
Oh, absolutely. Some of the tips are declare your ambition.
Declare.
So declare it.
Mm.
So set up a meeting with your manager and let them know what you're hoping to achieve. What is your career goal? And put a plan in place for how to get from where you are now to where you'd like to be with your manager, right? Here you are saying you're invested, you're committed in your career, and you're getting their buy-in on how to move your career forward. So very often we make assumptions about people as they age, that they don't have the energy, the interest, they want to cut back, they don't want to. But here you are stating with confidence that here's where you'd like to take your career and what can you do to get there. So that's definitely one tip that I think is, because people make assumptions. Another one is to build a network across generations. So we tend to stay in our comfort zone with people who are like us, who either look like us or have the same backgrounds, and that's our comfort zone. But we need to branch out because there are now 5, potentially 6 generations in the workplace. And if we're going to build visibility for ourselves and continue to learn, we need to build relationships with people who are younger, older, because we definitely have a lot to learn from one another. We tend to put people in categories based on their age, and a lot of things too, as you know. But we make assumptions about them then, like, oh, millennials are this and boomers are this, But when we make the one-on-one connections, we realize that other people have a lot to offer, and it's the assumptions kind of get pushed aside. So a cross-generational network helps you to build visibility as well as to expand your knowledge.
Wow.
And one other tip might be, there's so many, but one other tip might be to maintain a growth mindset.
Maintain the growth.
Be curious, be open to learning new things. Don't be stale in your skills. Always stay up to date. In fact, I tell my clients to be proactive in your industry. What trend is coming down the pike? Do some research, learn, something about the new trends so that you can help others to learn some new skills. But there's so many ways today to learn. Their master classes, their podcasts, they're like this one. They're podcasts that so many people have. There's training that your industry might have. Don't be afraid to ask for that kind of training. So just keeping that open, that mindset that there's so much more to learn, and that even as you age, you can learn new things.
Yeah. Wow. So your 3 tips for today. The first one is publish your intention. So share the intention that you would want to do with your line managers or the people above you, so that together you can create a plan of your works and the contribution plan. Right. The second one was to get the network across all the genders and ages, so that you can expand your knowledge, expand your relationships, and expand and start to build different sorts of influencing also.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the third one is the mindset. Definitely, have the growth mindset to continue look out for opportunity to learn, opportunity for upskill you and get updated. So you're not gonna be out of the game. You want to be in the game. You want to add value. You have to be in the game and leading the change, right? Thank you, Bonnie, for that. And which leads me to the next question is, and I really enjoy this question. Every time that I got a chance to talk to a successful individual, I want to learn their secret sauce to success. So you've been doing amazing things in your life, and then if you can narrow them down to the few key words that made Bonnie stories a success story, what are the key words that you can share?
Good question. I would say probably the number one thing is relationships. Relationship building. As I said before, every promotion, every new job came from a referral. So that's the key. Creating visibility for yourself, which is, you could say is advocating for yourself, but creating a visibility plan so that you don't, you're on people's radar at all times. So whatever that looks like, in your organization, figure that out. And I think the last one is paying attention.
Paying attention. What is that? I'm curious. Paying attention?
Paying attention means what's going on around you. How are decisions made that influence you? We don't build a career in a vacuum. And so it's really important to understand the dynamics and what is influencing those decisions. Whether you're in a corporate arena or you have your own business, it's important not to stay so focused on your work that you don't see what's going on around you. On the other hand, you don't want to be so focused on what everybody else is doing
and not focus on the work.
and you're paralyzed, right?
But Bonnie, that leads me to another question that I'm interested to understand also is a lot we as human beings, we want to pay attention to what's going on around us so that we can prepare, plan, and replan whatever. But then paying attention to what is something that's very challenging, right? And if I pay attention to something incorrect source of information, then it will lead me to a wrong, set of expectations of planning. So how do we think and have our thinking grow in paying attention to the right kind of attention, so it's not wasting our time, though?
So you find out what the right information is by paying attention. So and as you're building relationships, you can figure out the lay of the land. You can figure out who is an imposter and who is the real thing. You can figure out who could be your champion and who can be your ally, and you can figure out who might sabotage you. That's the reality of the workplace. And if there's somebody who may sabotage you or not advocate for you, let's put it, more positively, you can certainly build a network around that person. But the reality, so you're not going to be blindsided. That's what I mean by paying attention.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. My last question, Bonnie, for today is related. We talk about a lot about the past and the present. I also would want to talk about the future. So what is there in the upcoming months that excites you and you would want to share with me and the audience? Anything that you can share with us?
Well, it's not an official announcement yet. But I'm working on a documentary film.
Exciting. So that is something totally new from what you're doing.
It's new. It's based on my research. It's based on, my books, all the interviews I've done. But it's not out there in the world yet officially, but I guess it is now.
Wow. We wish you all the best with that, Bonnie. And when the work's finished, can you let us know so that you can have a like take a look at that together? Can we?
Oh yeah, it's a long way off yet. Just the beginning stages.
Yes, but baby steps will lead to will lead to the destination that you would want to do, right? So as long as you leaning toward it, get there one day. So I wish you have the strength and the energy to get there as fast as you could, but still enjoy the ride, enjoy what you do. And well, thank you so much for taking your time and joining this talk with me and the audience here in Vietnam. We really appreciate that, and I think that for those who listen to the conversations that we have today, there's a lot of things for them to rethink. So instead of being too focused on achieving and be blindsided on the organizations or on other things happening in their lives, it's a good opportunity for them to reflect, right, and rethink whether or not it's effective or something that needs to change. And you're an expert on that. You're sharing your wisdoms. Appreciate it, and we thank you.
Well, thank you very much for a great interview.
Bunny, I wish you well. I wish all the best to your family, and please tell your son-in-law that Vietnam is beautiful, and we want him to come here so that you and your family and him will come here, and then it's a great opportunity and great honors for us to take you guys around.
Thank you.
Thank you. Say hello to them all for me, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.